my like whole mission around what started as just like a need for myself and other athletes that I was friends with started to try my bars and my trips and be like, "Oh, can you send me some? I have a trip coming up." So I was
Mhm.
like blending them together, putting them in like little energy balls and mailing them around the country. That's when I registered the name Send Bars. So to
Yeah.
send means to do something optimally, like to get to the top of a mountain and whatever that mountain is for you in your life. It doesn't need to be a
Mhm.
literal one. That's the energy that I want to harness.
Hello, fans and listeners. It's Lindsey Elizabeth Cortes, registered dietitian, sports dietitian, your host of the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Our guest today, Sasha DiGiulian. She is amazing. Let me read off her bio. Professional climber, writer, speaker, founder, and entrepreneur, CEO of Send Bars. Sasha is one of the most accomplished and recognizable female climbers in the world. She has been the female overall world champion, as well as the undefeated Pan American champion for a 10-year reign, which is just insane, and a 3-time U.S. national champion. Sasha was the first North American woman and third woman in the world to climb the grade 5.14D 9A. She has traveled to over 50 countries globally and accomplished 30 plus first female ascents around the world, including big walls of 5.14 grade. These accomplishments have garnered her worldwide attention, including gracing the cover of 27 magazines and features including Oprah, Good Morning America, The Today Show, 60 Minutes, Sports, Nightline, CNN, BBC, Vogue, Time, as well as global endorsement deals. Sasha believes in the transformative power of sports on youth and female development. As a woman making a career with a traditionally male-dominated space, she has stood for equality in sport, access, pay, and treatment of female athletes. As founder of Female Focused Adventures, a production company that centers around storytelling in the female adventure space and empowering female content creators, Sasha strives to bolster the access and experiences of other women in the outdoors. She is the founder and CEO of the superfood nutrition company Send Bars, which she launched in 2022 as a women-owned and operated female business. I think it's pretty clear as to why we wanted to have Sasha as a guest on the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Now, our conversation today was cut a little short due to some scheduling issues combined with a few technical issues. So we had a great conversation, but you might feel like, I wish you kept talking to her for another hour. I know, me too. So Sasha and I will connect again and hopefully have her on the podcast again in the future. But for now, we cover a bit of her nutrition journey as a professional climber, kind of experiences that led her there as a child, teen athlete, and also eventually led to the development of Send Bars, which we get into why she developed Send Bars, kind of the nutritional quality, and tune into the end because we have a special giveaway for you. So here we go to our conversation with Sasha. Thank you so much, Sasha, for coming on. And yeah, let's have a great conversation.
I'm so excited to be here.
So your background as an athlete is just so impressive. And I've worked with some climbers before, but it's not my specialty, not a sport that I've ever participated in myself. So I'd love to hear how you got into it. You live in Colorado now, but not always. And so how did you get into climbing?
My path certainly wasn't through Colorado. Yeah, you're right. I moved from the East Coast. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and I got into climbing when I was 6 years old through my brother's birthday party. So I started in the like artificial climbing gym setting
Yeah.
and then grew up in the sport through competition.
Oh, wow. So yes, so more of the like indoor climbing, but when did you make that transition to outdoor? Does that happen quickly or?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a gray area. So I started climbing when I was 6 and started competing when I was 7, was very focused on that for the next about decade and a half of my life. And climbing competitions have changed and evolved and grown in such neat ways that have almost become more of a break off point away from what outdoor climbing is. And there's almost like two very distinct disciplines within our sport. I mean, there's more distinct disciplines than that, but like there's indoor climbing, there's outdoor climbing. Back in my day, which makes me sound ancient, the indoor climbing competition scene did have overlap to outdoor climbing, because when you went to climb in a competition, like the style, so to speak, was more replicative of what outdoor climbing is like. So from when I was about like quite young, I was climbing outside on a very recreational level.
Okay.
My
Yes.
focus for training and how I was progressing within the sport was just very focused to competing for the US national team, the World Cups, the World Championships, and that side of things. But I have photos from climbing outside from when I was like maybe even like 6, 7, going on like weekend trips with my climbing team when I was young, often seen eating snacks, which I know brings us together on this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we can kind of dive right into that. Just like at what point in your like you took to this at a young age, you start getting really good, you're competing for national teams. At what point did nutrition become something that was important in your training and competition, or even, I don't even want to say important, just something that you became aware was a thing? Because there's a lot that goes into, I think, the culture around nutrition and climbing.
It's such a loaded question, to be honest, because the history goes quite far back. And when I was writing my book, actually, that I published last year, I was going through all of these foundational memories of like, what led to what and what sort of patterns I could identify. And nutrition was at the forefront of a lot, because climbing is a strength to weight ratio sport. We deal with a lot of eating disorders. I myself went through disordered eating, and that was a really challenging chapter of my life. Luckily, I had such a great circle around me that it didn't last long. But I also say that like it stays with you. You never get through it fully. You learn mechanisms in which you have self-talk, and you make that choice every single day to choose healthy. But as young as, gosh, I remember in 5th grade distinctly, I was at the lunchroom cafeteria with my friends in school. And I walked in and I had started training with this coach, and I was starting to go travel internationally for competitions in the junior category. And this coach had said, one mechanism that you can get an edge in competition is to lose 5 pounds the week before a competition. And I don't know how old you are in 5th grade. I'd have to do some
12,
there.
11.
Yeah, around 12. And I just distinctly remember this
10.
time when I walked in to the lunch cafeteria of my school, and my school, like, I was the only rock climber of my school. It was very, very niche, and the sport's grown since.
Yeah.
But I said to my friends, like, I'm on a diet this week. And like, I didn't even know what diet meant. I just thought, like, here's this person that I deeply look up to, and he had no idea like the impact that it would have on me. I think it was just, this was his experience, and it was so of the culture of climbing that like he probably said it and forgot about it, but it stuck with me. And I just remembered that moment as my first interaction with like not even knowing what being on a diet is, but being told that and like using it as like this badge of honor, like I'm a serious athlete. And then
Yeah, you're almost proud of it. I'm on a diet the week before. Like, yeah.
like
And that's just
I'm
youthful, and yeah, you didn't know.
I'm just showing up and like taking my sport seriously, and this is what's required. This is part of my training, Um, and then fast forward to when I was 17 is like the beginning of this slippery slope that I had in my career of disordered eating, where I was on a climbing trip all summer. That's kind of how my year normally was. Like I'd be in school, and then on summer breaks, like I'd spend like 3 months in Europe.
Wow.
And you're being extremely active. Like every day you're hiking and climbing outside. And I was it was my first year of competing in adult World Cups. I had won the U.S. National Championships and Female Open earlier that year, super healthy. And then I was like starting to slim down, so to speak. And like the word that my sport uses, which I think is quite loaded, is like we refer to it as ripped. And like people just start saying, oh, you look so ripped and you look so good. And I was starting to see like this success was accumulating as well. And like I had already had success. It wasn't like I was training really hard and I just happened to be having continued success. But in my mind, this like complimentary behavior as to what I look like, this like affirmative performance result led to 1 + 1 = 3, so to speak, in my mind. And so I entered my senior year of high school and was so nervous to lose like my shape after the summer. And this was on the heels of like, I went to this junior world championship and I was like just projected to win. And I was doing so well. Like I was the lead in the qualifiers, the semifinals, and I got to the finals. And it's one of the most like, you know, you always remember your failures more than your success. It's one of those competitions. I just remember that feeling of devastation so well because I messed up. My foot slipped. I didn't win. And I came back to the US. The competition was in France, I believe. I think it was in Valence. And I felt devastated and so on edge to like lose my fitness that I had built from the summer that I started counting calories. And I started being so strict about like what I ate and thinking like, oh, I'm not going to be climbing outside all these days. I need to start like controlling the factors that I can control. And that's what I put into my body. And so that I remember so distinctly because through that semester of school, I lost 10 pounds at least. I went from like 110 pounds to 98 pounds, maybe like 12 pounds. And you know, my school notified my mom and was like, hey, we've noticed, Sasha's lost some weight, went to the doctor, and like, I think that this is the issue too, is there's what you're feeling in your mind when you're not well versus like what shows up on paper. She's an athlete, she's active, the doctor's like, she's fine. She's just an athlete. I was not fine. Like I was so mentally unwell. And then that next spring, and this is where internet can be such a cruel place. Like I start going and I'm still having success in my climbing. Undoubtedly, there's like a link between how my performance is showing up in my sport during this time frame too. Yeah. And people start talking about my weight and like there's forums of like, oh, does she even get her period? Ha ha ha. Like very hurtful. And that time, I commenting on. It's like wild to think back of like being this teenager and having
so young.
Yeah, having people comment about your body, but instead of being helpful in the young female's psyche, it's like, oh, she's cheating by like losing weight. That's like performance additive and like these angles that just the toxicity in my sport was shedding to my career only like messed with my psyche more. And so I would say that period of time, probably most specifically like 17 to 19, was one of the more challenging times in my life with my relationship to food, climbing performance, and then a whiplash too of like, I started my freshman year at Columbia University and I started meeting friends that aren't athletes because I had been surrounded by only like a lot of athletes. I'd taken a gap year between high school and college, moved to Europe, was doing the World Cups and World Championships, and surrounded by this echo chamber of like what I looked up to on the World Cup podiums was like women who were not healthy. And when I saw them, I thought I need to emulate them. This is what it looks
Right.
like to be at the top of my sport. So I know that's a ramble, but there's kind of a lot there for my journey within nutrition and actually lack of nutrition.
Thank you for opening up about that, because I think the climbing world has a long way to go. Like there's some other, like all female sports, I think, have learning and more support and resources needed in the space of disordered eating. There's some sports that like are addressing it a little bit more aggressively. And I think there's a lot of work to be done in the climbing world, which we'll get to how you are helping with in just a moment. But one is just sharing your story of how, a comment when you're in 5th grade can set the tone for the next few years that unfortunately sets a false belief of like weight loss and performance and connecting those dots that isn't necessarily true. And then lo and behold, just that awareness of like, okay, then you have that association built and that spirals you down negative mentally. And it's also then taking away from your actual performance as an athlete, whether it be how you're actually doing or just how people perceive you're doing, because now you're a female athlete who's receiving attention for your body size, shape, or weight instead of your body's performance. And that's not correct, So we should be looking at you as a human being, as an individual, and as an athlete and how you're performing. And, your personal health journey is something that you need to navigate. And I think people in the sport, like coaches and then your family and doctors, like have that responsibility along with you to take care of yourself. You mentioned earlier something along the lines of like, after this rough patch that you had age 17 to 19, like you really learned that you have to choose healthy, which I think also starts with like redefining healthy, what is healthy. But it seems that somewhere in your college journey, you started to choose healthy yourself by making some of your own homemade bars in your dorm room. I think, is that where the story of Scent Bars begins? Is it in a dorm room at Columbia? And I just wanted to kind of know, like, so as you're navigating this difficult time of performance and disordered eating and trying to heal from that and trying to choose healthy for yourself, like how did that translate over into starting to make your own bars?
Yeah, absolutely. The beginning stages of Send Bars is my superfood nutrition bar company, was because I am gluten-free. And later in life, I learned in actually like about 7, 8 years ago, I learned I had celiac. And I was dealing with a lot of gut biome issues, just feeling like, during the pendulum swing of going like disordered eating to delayed puberty to learning what healthy is, like you just articulated, your body goes through a lot of changes and you're trying to understand what makes you feel good. And what I learned was like, as my schedule got more and more busy with travel, with then integrating in school, with integrating in my training, I needed to be having healthy on the go food, because it was rare that I was actually having time to like sit down for lunch or sit down for a meal. And so what I started to do was take these recipes that I'd like read online and distill them down into like more simplistic, just like science experiments, so to speak, in my blender,
Yeah.
where I would put together like dates and nuts and vegetable powders. And that novelty came from like, I was going around the world, sometimes living on a portaledge, which is like essentially like an elevated hammock 1,000 feet up on a wall.
Mm.
And there's no way to get greens. Like you're just not going to lug a head of spinach up on a cliff.
No.
And so my vision was like, is there a world in which I can just put these greens into my bars and have a nutrient dense method that actually tastes good and has like a homemade vibe to it? And there was no bar on the market that I wanted to eat. Like everything on the market, and still to this day, it baffles my mind. Like there are bars that are pretending to be healthy, that like you look at it and it's got like vegetable glycerin or sugar alcohol or artificial
Mm-hmm.
sweeteners or tapioca syrup. Like none of that is real food, natural
You're like, where's the real
flavorings.
food? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so my like whole mission around what started as just like a need for myself and other athletes that I was friends with started to try my bars and my trips and be like, oh, can you send me some? I have a trip coming up. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like blending them together, putting them in like little energy balls and mailing them around the country. That's when I registered the name Send Bars. So to
Yeah.
send means to do something optimally, like to get to the top of a mountain and whatever that mountain is for you in your life. It doesn't need to be a literal
Mm-hmm.
one. That's the energy that I want to harness. And yeah, it started, I guess, in 2012 is when I registered the name, and wasn't until in 2020 I was diagnosed with double hip reconstructive surgery. So I went on this journey of like really working with experts and learning more about nutrition because I was fully flattened through a series of 5 surgeries over the course of 2 years with the future of my performance in my sport under question.
Right.
And all I could control was my nutrition, how I showed up to my PT, and these variables. And that were quite slim to what I was used to. I was kind of doing like this 180 on my career. And yeah, so I had this vision of exactly what I wanted to create. And then I brought in a friend who I'd met through the world of sport to really be the recipe architect. She had a background in sports nutrition. Sorry, she had gone through her own life journey of being an athlete, having a mysterious illness, getting diagnosed with Lyme disease, and
Mm.
searching for a food forward approach to combat that illness. And so
Yeah.
she went to culinary school in New York and got her nutrition degree. And so she felt like this perfect person to bring into this company that I wanted to create called Send Bars. And so we started to build the very foundational blocks of it. I mean, I guess I had started that 8 years prior, but really bringing it into a reality in 2020. And then by the time of 2022 in the summer, we launched this product that we went online, like D2C, Amazon, very scrappy to get off the ground. And our whole ethos is just real food, no crap, nothing hidden. Like everything you see is what you get, and it actually tastes good. And there's greens in it.
I love, your journey with climbing is so important because it's like, maybe in a different scenario, you could say like, just eat a salad. But you're like, no, I can't. I'm traveling. I'm up 1,000 foot on a mountain. Like I need my greens in this product. I love that. Like was designed because of your experiences as an athlete. And I agree with you too, that sometimes in the health food market, you find these ingredients that you're like, but is erythritol healthy? I actually need the sugar to fuel what I'm about to do as an athlete. Like I want the real thing. And so I have to tell our listeners, you sent me a sample box and these are delicious, Sasha. Like they're really good. So like if you look at the ingredients, you're like, oh, a bar made with like date, and we'll talk about the other ingredients in a moment. But the only like bar on the market, like in your grocery stores that I could compare it to is maybe like an RX bar, except those are disgusting in my personal opinion. If anybody listening likes them, that's fine. I cannot, they get stuck in my teeth. I do not like them. And your bar was like, this is so good. It tastes so good.
I super appreciate that. And I'm so glad that you like them because I do think that like to encourage people to eat healthy, you need to enjoy eating healthy.
Yes.
And an issue, and not to bash other companies, but like things to be
That's
aware
okay.
of
I
even
just
on
did for you.
yeah. And even on that brand, like there's natural flavorings, there's powders that it's not actually real food. And I think that
Yeah.
that's side of the bar market. It's just been really interesting for me to lift the hood up on and see, and even on bar companies that say like they're made with dates. It's like often date like powders. And we use actual real whole dates. So you're getting the benefits of all of that fiber in your bar.
Yeah.
And I think that the more we understand reading labels and knowing like the actual visual representation of what food should look like and taste like, I just find it's so important. And it's also something that a lot of these ingredients that are in a lot of packaged products, like we don't know the long-term effects on our health that they're going to cause. And so that's why I'm just like very wary. I've always taken a very food forward approach to my nutrition as far as even like supplements are concerned. There's very few supplements that I actually take because I've always thought like if I need vitamin C, I'm going to eat a kiwi. Or,
how can I
you
get it
know,
through
if
the
I need
food?
iron, I'm going to eat spinach. Like the different elements of what vitamins and nutrients you can get from food are going to be so much more. And you would know better than me as a nutritionist, but just biomedically available. And
Yeah,
I
what's
don't know if that's actually
bioavailable,
the
how it's
bioavailable. Thank
absorbed,
you.
and working synergistically with other nutrients that are in that food product as well. So you always get more benefits and absorb more of the nutrition out of a whole food product than you do out of like a supplemental product. I think one other question I wanted to get into are ingredients, and I've got kind of the stuff in front of me of just ingredients. So, you have almonds, you have a few different flavors, but things that have like cashews, almonds, coconut, walnuts, there's dates in there. You mentioned the green powders, there's plant protein, I think coming from the natural things I just mentioned, like the nuts, but I think also, is it some pea
protein.
pea protein powder in the bars as well? And then what's
And pea
interesting,
protein, which I'm sure you're aware of, is like outside of there's two basically options for plant-based protein that have the highest source of protein, and that's pea protein and soy protein. And we didn't want to integrate soy into our products, and so that's why we went with pea protein. It's an ingredient that's really great when combined with other things. Like that taste can be tricky, and I do feel like we continue to innovate there within bar product taste because we just want them to taste good. I would say that our bars do taste healthy and they make you feel really good. But that's the little bit of context around the pea protein.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think the other ingredient that I wanted to hit on in this episode is the addition of some adaptogens. So, for our listeners, adaptogens are compounds that can have an effect on your body. It's not medicine. It doesn't necessarily cause a direct, like, specific change in your body, but they can function a little bit like medicine in that they adapt to whatever it is your body needs to get to a state of homeostasis. And I know that's pretty vague, but that's the truth. It's like if you have some stressors going on in your life, adaptogens can reset that stress. Or maybe you don't have enough stress. Oddly enough, adaptogens can help create the stress that you need. It really helps your body come to a place of homeostasis. And I think hearing your story and I'm so sorry, her name, Ariane, her story as well, helping you build this company and your journeys with nutrition makes sense that you guys might be interested in putting adaptogens in your bar. But I'd just love to hear from you kind of, why you chose to put these in Sen bars as well.
Yeah, adaptogens, like they're not a new ingredient. I would say that they've existed in Eastern it's called Eastern medicine. It's right.
No, they've been definitely in Eastern medicine. Hundreds of
thousands of years. I just want to make sure I was classifying that ingredients. Term. Yeah, ancient ingredients, exactly. And kind of newer to the Western medicine field, but I would say that adaptogens are gaining such traction in our current climate because they're so potent and so powerful. Like reishi and cordyceps are the two adaptogens that we have in our bars, and essentially it is real food. It comes from a mushroom. And what's so powerful about them is they're known to increase your energy and your stress management, like you said, like controlling your adrenals and bringing you back to a sense of equilibrium, your heart health. Like there's so many performance enhancing in like a natural way. Like I say performance enhancing, it's like not a drug at all. So maybe,
no, it's not.
Maybe scotch. No,
but you could say performance enhancing. There's other things that are natural that are performance enhancing too.
Okay, cool. I want to be like careful as to what I say. But at the same time, so adaptogens are something that I've taken for many years in my life as a performance oriented athlete. And so that was something that in crafting this superfood nutrition bar, we wanted to make sure that they also had all of the things that your body is going to respond to and nothing that it shouldn't have. So
Yeah. Yeah, really great ingredients, whole food ingredients, powerful ingredients. You do state this on the bar itself, on the packaging, but just because this is a female athlete nutrition podcast, we do want to advise that if you are pregnant, we're not sure that adaptogens are safe during pregnancy, so you might want to hold off on Sen bars during that time in your life. But otherwise, go for it. And Sasha, I'm so excited and grateful that you and your team are willing to do a giveaway for our listeners. Just like you sent me a variety pack that included your 4 different flavors, and I got to sample them and eat them. I ate them just as a snack, and then I also ate them intentionally pre and post workout, which was great. Like the dates and the carbohydrates, the natural carbohydrates make this a perfect pre-workout and honestly even during, because it's like so easily digestible during workout option, pending the intensity of your sport. And then also with the 10 grams of protein, what a great option to have as part of your post-workout. You might need more post-workout, but it starts you off with your carbs and 10 grams of protein. And then I just had it as a snack. Like it was so great to try these and listen to these delicious flavors. Lemon cherry. That was actually my favorite. Even though I'm usually a chocolate person, lemon cherry was my favorite flavor. Peanut cocoa crunch, banana bread, and peanut butter. Delicious flavors. And I got a variety pack. I got to try them. And guess what? Now our listeners are going to get a chance to win as well. So all you have to do is click on the link in the show notes where you will simply enter in your name and email address. And we're going to pick 3 winners that will get a variety pack sent to you. So you could try these, tag Sen Bars and Sasha on social media. Let us know what flavor is your favorite and share it with your friends. Tell them how much they should eat them as well. These superfood bars that are great for athletes, delicious ingredients, and good for our bodies. We have to, as female athletes, as we mentioned in this episode, choose healthy. We might have to redefine what that means as well, but this is an option that can keep busy, active female athletes healthy and put good nutrients in your body that taste good and you can feel good about. So, link in the show notes for the giveaway. And we're excited to announce who the winner is, who will be, of course, contacted via email. But Sasha, you are a force to be reckoned with in the sport of climbing for female athletes in the nutrition industry, changing the game. And I'm just so grateful for all you're doing for female athletes across the globe. I know we're short on time and you've got to run off. You're a very busy lady. So thank you so much for sharing your story and bringing these delicious bars to the world and to our audience.
I so appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited for future podcasts with you. So really appreciate our conversation and thanks so much for supporting our brand. Yeah, we're a female-owned and operated business, and we're just here to make eating healthy easier and more convenient. So really glad that I could speak to you and your audience.
Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Please help spread the message of empowering female athletes to be fierce, fit, and fueled by giving this podcast a 5-star review and leaving a comment. You can also help more female athletes by sending this episode to a friend. Head to lindseycortes.com for more resources, information, more episodes, ways to work together, downloadable guides, and ebooks. And if you're interested in becoming a guest on the show or have a guest suggestion, head to lindseycortes.com/podcast, and there's a form for you to fill out to get on the show. Hey, there's more resources on my YouTube channel, Female Athlete Nutrition, Instagram @female.athlete.nutrition, and private Facebook group, Female Athlete Nutrition. I think you get the point. I'm here to support female athletes by fueling better and becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. Most importantly, if you need help, reach out. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next show.